Friends, thank you for watching my channel. I just want to remind you, if you need wallpaper, go to www.wallpaperboulevard.com. Tell them Spencer sent you. In fact, if you use my hashtag, Spencer Colgan is wallpaper, they'll be sure to give you a 10% off at your checkout. No matter how much you order, they have a wide selection of wallpaper. Check it out. Hi, this is Spencer Colgan from Spencer Colgan is Wallpaper. Today, I'm hanging a Phillip Jeffries Grasscloth on. Now that you sat through that, here's today's corrected or newer version of the same video as yesterday. Hi, this is Spencer Colgan and welcome back to my show on wallpaper. Now yesterday I made a video on hanging grasscloth around windows, but I had the fan on and one of the good folks who watched the video said, I really can't hear you. So I've come to the other point on the other side of the window, which presents the same issue for which I made the video yesterday. So let me re-present the issue. Windows are tricky. The window looks like a perfect square, doesn't it? It does. All it takes is for that miter joint to be off slightly, to throw off this line, and I'm talking about an imperceptible variation. Imperceptible. Except that when you hang the wall covering around this, if it's not perfectly level, I mean, we can cut our wallpaper according to its unevenness, and that would be fine. But when you're coming around here, because we're dealing with right angles here, this is straight. When we're coming around here, if this angle and this angle are not the same, if they were both 88 degrees, it would be fine. But if this is 91 and this is 88, we have what we had yesterday, which is why we used our laser level. And we had to manufacture a seam here because while this met up, we were overlapped about 1/8 of an inch up here. We overlapped because something is off. It's certainly not our wall covering. Oh man, I gotta push down that seam. And so when you come around a window like this, to keep your line or the edge of your wallpaper here and here, these two, come on, here and here, without buckling, these things have to be right under and on top of one another, right? It looks like it is, right? But let's see with our laser level. Looks perfect, right? Now let me offer some tips based on experiences I've had with Grasscloth. First of all, don't overdo it with friction. The least you touch the material, the better. You want to see perfection in Grasscloth hanging? Get an Instagram account and follow Biz Pro Wall Covering. He covers all of the parts of California I'm about to mention. Malibu, Los Angeles. I was only in California once. Beverly Hills, he goes all over these beautiful areas. And I look at his Grasscloth installations and I can tell you, the luster of the material. Look at the shine that comes back. Look at that. When he goes up against the wall covering, I can see that he is a craftsman insofar as he doesn't handle the material unnecessarily. There aren't stress marks around his seams. You see, if you keep doing this, right, to this, you're eventually you won't see it up close, but when you step away, you'll know, oh man, I overworked the seam. So that's why I introduced yesterday in my video the use of the brush. You know, you can't go wrong with it. But if you overdo the smoother, if you're pressing too hard, you will mar the surface. Okay? Now, let's see if our edge is plumb. Let's see if these two lines meet up. You got to get up close and make sure that your laser is the same on the top and bottom. Okay, I have a little space between my laser and my wall covering. Do you see it at the top? Okay. And on the bottom, we have green on the wall covering and we have green on the wall. But when we get to the top, we have a gap. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you didn't have this laser level, you'd go nuts. You'd be like, what's going on? And that's what's going on. We have a differential of 1/8 of an inch. And if we were dealing with patterned wallpaper, it wouldn't make a difference. Okay? Unless it's a geographic pattern and all of your lines are meeting up. Sometimes you can have over hundreds of connections on a geometric and this would throw it off. But this is easy enough to fix. Now, if you have a geometric pattern, you have to be familiar with the problems that come with joining such a pattern on issues such as these. Okay? You would be forced to tell your customer, hey, look what's going on here. You know, now I started with a plumb line, as you saw in yesterday's video, if you just refer back to the video that was posted yesterday about hanging grass cloth around windows. So we're going to compensate for this little variation with covering our wall covering with tape here, tape there, and manufacturing a seam by overlapping this sheet onto here and cutting through them. This way we can now have a fluid sheet where it just flows into this one without any issues of stretching it over here and pushing it back over here, creating buckles down this way and wrinkles. So I've covered my edges with tape, anticipating the paste that will be brought onto the sheet so I can protect this and cut through it. So I set my laser level on my wallpaper right at that point at which I'm going to create a seam. We know that it doesn't match up, so this will force it to match up. We're going to cut right through that laser, making this sheet look like it perfectly matches up with this one. Okay? And I've had this similar trouble going around other windows on past videos. The wider the window, the greater propensity for a lack of square. Okay? Here, you'll get this sheet that'll come over to about here. This sheet will come over and just, this presents another problem. Going around windows is not easy. You need a little more than average skill for it. Okay, and I hope, you folks learned something from this video. What I find is that through a lot of trial and error, I've come up with these solutions. So I share them with you so your job goes a lot quicker than mine used to. Let's bring it closer to the action. So I've overlapped it, and I want to bring my new sheet just past the laser line, okay? Now, before we cut our seam, we have to work our cuts out against that trim. You don't cut your seam and then work on the trim. So you want to make sure that you're not hanging this sheet crooked. Even though you're going to make a seam, you don't want it to be like an inch off, because these horizontal lines, you'll see it if it's off. So the overlap down here should be the same as the overlap up there. Even though you're manufacturing a seam, I mean, theoretically, it is slightly off since we're manufacturing a seam. However, it's only 1/8 of an inch off right now. But if you just say, yeah, I'm manufacturing a seam, it doesn't matter. You're wrong. And sometimes these things are not straight. As you can see, I don't know if you can see. I noticed it when I was going up the ladder. These are going down a bit. I don't know how they do that when they make it, but they do. So, okay. But it's any handmade product, you're never going to get machine precision. Okay, let's turn it around. That's our manufactured seam. And in my opinion, it's perfect. Let's go do the other one. I've trimmed away this piece and that piece, and now we're going to cut along that green line. Don't rub over the tape. You might push the tackiness of the tape into the fabric of your wall covering.